Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Luna of the Lost Moon. Episode 4. Chapter 51. Lola's POV. Welcome back, child. The angelic voice from before drifted towards me and I felt a wave of calmness wash over me. Selene, I greeted her. I felt her moving towards me. It wasn't obvious that she wasn't moving, but she seemed to draw closer to me. Why am I here again? Why did Lila look so scared and every other person seemed to have seen a ghost? In fact, how did I get here? I saw no Serena nor Herbs in the hospital. What's going on? I asked her. I was really getting confused and frustrated. Your wolf has been connected to mine since the last time you came to this garden. You're here because Jasmine called out to me, she said, her voice soothing to the ears. Jasmine called out to her? Why did she call out to you? I asked her curiously. We were at the hospital, how could she have called out to her? I suddenly remembered the memory that came to me while I was in the hospital. Was it because of the memory I saw back at the hospital? I asked and she said yes. Was that memory real? Did I really have a brother? What happened 8 years ago? I asked rapidly and she sighed. I can't answer all these questions, Lola, she said, and I wanted to scream. You can answer all these questions, Selene. You're the moon goddess, you know everything and nothing goes by without your prior knowledge or permission. Just tell me everything, I'm tired of being in the dark, I screamed out, but it all came out in a silent and calm manner. I can't even scream out my grievances? Oh, come on. I understand how you feel, Lola, but I don't know everything. There are some things that are beyond me and it's called fate and destiny. You'll find out everything soon enough, she said gently, and I just wanted to scream. Then what happened to Mom and Dad? Are they with you? Can I see them and my brother too? Can I at least talk to them? I miss them. I whispered the last part and a tear fell from my eyes. I really do miss them. Nothing has gone right for me since I lost them. Maybe they can tell me all that happened if I can talk to them. They can't answer your questions even if you see them, Lola, Selene said as if she had read my mind. But why? I needed answers and I needed them fast. You'll find out soon, she said. I was about to argue back when I felt myself falling freely like the first time. I felt myself enter my body back at the hospital and opened my eyes with a gasp. At the sound of the gasp, feet pattered towards me and I was bombarded by questions. I felt overwhelmed by the sudden change in atmosphere and could barely make out who was who and what they were saying. She just woke up. You can't keep asking her questions like that, a familiar voice rang out with authority and everybody went silent. I was grateful for the silence and used that moment to get myself together. When I could finally take in my surroundings, I saw Jaden, Rose, and Lila with their tear-stricken faces, also Avianca and Lodina who looked so sad and guilty. The doctor will be here soon, Jaden said to me and I nodded my head. No sooner had he finished speaking when a balding man in white coat came in with 2 nurses in tow. Alpha, Luna, he bowed to Jaden and Rose when he entered. Can everyone leave the room now? We'd like to run some tests on her, the doctor said, and that was when I looked down and saw that I had changed out of my clothes and was now in a hospital gown. The person that changed me would have seen all of my scars. I'm Dr. Cole. How do you feel, Lola? He asked with a warm smile, and I slowly felt at ease. I'm fine, doctor, I replied in a small voice. He did some minor checks while his nurses wrote some things down. He moved back and looked at me when he was done. There's nothing wrong with you, but I'd still keep you here till tomorrow morning to see if any changes might occur. Have a nice day, Lola, he said to me with a smile before he left the room. The door had barely closed when Lila ran inside and immediately came to wrap me in a hug. Don't scare me like that again, she whispered into my neck, and that was when I realized that she was crying. Hey, I'm sorry, okay? It's okay, don't cry please, I said while rubbing her back. How many hours was I gone for? I asked, and she pulled back from my body so fast, I thought she was burnt by fire. Hours? She exclaimed. You were gone for 4 days, Lola, another voice sounded from the door. I looked up to find Rose looking tired and worn out. 4 days? I was only gone for like a few hours. Selene and I just spoke for a while, I couldn't have been out for 4 days. I looked at all of their faces to check if they were playing with me, but they all seemed so serious and sad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be such a nuisance or bring you stress. I'm sorry for any form of inconvenience I might have caused you, I apologize. I should be the one apologizing, Lola spoke up. If I had not been a peach and shouted at you, you might not have gone into shock like you did. I'm really sorry for what I did, Lola, I sincerely apologize, she said in a small voice, but I heard her loud and clear. Before I could speak up, Rose beat me to it. Now, ladies. You can all leave now and sleep in your houses for tonight, I'd stay with Lola, she said, but the girls did not seem to agree. That wasn't a suggestion, it's an order from your Luna, and I wouldn't take no for an answer, she said sternly, and they all nodded reluctantly. Lila hugged me one more time before she left the room. Just before she moved away from me, she whispered, "You're so strong, Lola," leaving me confused. Rose came towards me once everyone left. She came to hug me and held my hands after she moved back. "Thank you for coming back to us. I wouldn't have been able to forgive myself," she said, her voice breaking. I gave her a smile and she returned it with a shaky one. Remembering that someone must have changed me, I asked her the question I was dreading to ask. "Who changed me out of my clothes?" I asked, hoping it was her. "I did," she said, and I breathed a sigh of relief. But the girls saw too, I facepalmed at that sentence. I guess there's no hiding from them anymore. But I made them promise not to pester you for what happened. "You'd tell us when you're ready," she said. I nodded at her words. At least I won't have to be so self-conscious around them anymore. We talked for a while before I started yawning. "I'll leave you to get some rest," she said before kissing my cheeks and walking towards the door. "Rose," I called, and she looked back, awaiting my question. "And Adrien?" I asked, and her face changed to that of sadness. "He never showed up once," she said it as if it pained her to voice out, and I nodded my head with a smile on my face. "Rest well, Lola," she said before stepping out of the room. After she was gone, I allowed a tear to slide down my cheeks. This is the last time I'd cry over a man that doesn't want me. Adrien will be sorry he treated me this way, I vowed to myself. Lola's POV: the next day when I was to be discharged, Lila, Avianca and Lola were all present. They all doted on me and made sure I did not need anything. After the doctor came into my room and said I could be discharged, Lila gave me some clothes that I could change into. I know that they already know about my battered body, but I did not want to see the pity in their eyes. I took a while in the bathroom to gather my thoughts and composure, forgetting that there were mother hens waiting outside for me. Lola? Lola? Lila called out in a panicked voice. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you having difficulties doing anything? She called out again when I did not answer her at first. I'm fine, Lila. I'll be out in a moment, I called out to her, and that was when she stopped knocking on the door. I heard them discussing in hushed tones and I could make out words like Adrien, former pack, protect, and I just knew they were talking about me. I walked out of the bathroom and they suddenly went quiet. Lila rushed towards me to help me, but I stopped her. I was tired of being treated like I was totally useless. Can you guys please stop all these? I'm not useless. I can do these basic things by myself for the moon's sake. I got out and they all looked surprised. What are you talking about, Lola? Avianca was the one that spoke up. I know you guys saw my scars. I'm not useless because of them. I brought those scars from my former pack and fought my way to this pack covered in them. Please don't act like I'm some fragile porcelain doll, I spoke up, surprised by my words. I looked around the room and they all looked equally surprised at my outburst. Lila was the first one to break out of the daze. I'm sorry, Lola. It's just that even though Nathan said they saw scars on you when you came into the pack, I did not imagine it would be something so much, she said, her voice breaking. It's a hard pill to swallow that people would willingly do something so horrendous to their kind. She finally broke down into tears and I felt bad for making her cry. She was only watching out for me, I did not have to be so harsh. I moved towards her and hugged her while she sobbed harder into my shoulder. I did not want you to think we'd treat you like your old pack did or kick you out because you're different. I'd never treat you like that, Lola. You're my best friend, remember, she said while sniffling. I was about to answer when Lola spoke up. Hey, where does that leave us? She said with a pout and I almost laughed. You've always liked Avianca more than you liked me, she replied with a roll of her eyes. That's not true. And I also want to be Lola's best friend, you don't get to keep her to yourself, she said and crossed her arms over her chest. I also want to be her best friend, Avianca, who had been silently watching their banter, also spoke up. We can all be best friends, I spoke up and Lola and Avianca agreed immediately while Lila still pouted a bit even though her eyes showed that she did not mind. I didn't mean to be ungrateful for the love you guys are showing me, but I don't want to be treated differently. Just treat me the way you always have, I said, directing my words to Lila in particular. They all nodded and I smiled at them in return. Group hug? Lola asked and we all hugged, even though it was a bit uncomfortable, but I was ready to get out of my comfort zone. We should have a group name, Avianca said and the others shook their heads in disagreement. I was wondering why when she spoke up. "Hear me out, guys, what about the all?" she said with a grin, and we all shouted no at once, making her move back with her hands over her heart. "You guys scared me, geez." We were all laughing when Rose came into the room. "I see you ladies are having fun. It's time to leave the hospital now. Lola needs to rest," she said, and I shook my head in disagreement. "But, I'm perfectly," I tried to speak up, but she wasn't having any of it. "You'll not argue with me, young lady," she said with an intimidating look in her eyes, so I kept quiet. We silently left the room and I saw Jaden and Nathan waiting. I tried not to be too disappointed when I did not see Adrien with them. I already knew he wasn't going to be here. He did not show up for 4 days after all. Nathan took the girls to the pack house while I shared a ride with Jaden and Rose back to the house. The car ride was silent and we all decided to ignore the big elephant in the room. Adrien. We got to the house and I went in first while Jaden and Rose stayed back to discuss some things. I was hit by his scent immediately. I opened the door, but I steeled my heart to not be swayed by a simple act of gesture. I had barely made it to the top of the stairs when he came out of his room looking like shit. Well, he deserved everything that happened to him and will happen to him. I did not acknowledge him and moved past him towards my room. I was halfway there when his voice stopped me in my tracks. "Lola, I turned towards him with anger in my veins. "You don't have the right to apologize to me, Adrien. Or should I say Alpha, since you'd be getting your happy ever after with your Luna soon. I hope you have a good life together. Scumbags fit each other perfectly," I said with venom in my voice before storming into my room and shutting the door with so much anger. I refused to be doormat for anyone anymore. He should have a good life with his peachy chosen Luna. I have a self-development journey that doesn't involve ma'am, and I'm going to excel at it. Adrien's POV. I think I just created a beast. I watched Lola as she walked away from me and slammed the door with force, making me flinch a bit. I felt a sense of pride and also felt like I had been kicked in the heart. That could only mean one thing: she wasn't going to take me anymore. Sure, it did not sit well with me that she talked to me in that manner. I was an alpha wolf after all. But it also made me feel proud that my mate was slowly standing up for herself. Scratch that. It meant my mate would not be rude to anyone because he now had the courage. Dixon was basically wagging his tail and whimpering in my head when she was shouting at us. I had to admit that it turned me on a bit. The alpha mate in me wanted to slam her against the wall and show her that she was mine and going nowhere. While the part of me that offended her was so ashamed, I could barely look her in the eyes. Congratulations, you succeeded in making her hate us. I hope you're happy now, Dixon growled in my head, and I just rubbed my palm all over my face. I did not have a comeback for him. Nothing I would say would justify the reason I did not show up at the hospital for 4 days. She was not responding to anything for 4 days, but I couldn't go there because I might go berserk and make blood flow in the hospital, so I stayed back at home, getting updates from Nathan. The first day was worse. I had been sitting in my bedroom after the whole bowling alley incident when Nathan's voice came into my head. "Lola just collapsed at the clinic, man." His panicked voice came through the mind link and I went rigid. Dixon immediately started whimpering in my head at the news that his mate had collapsed. "What?" That was the only word I could get out. "She looked perfectly fine before she left with Lila." I'm on my way back to get you, so we can go to the clinic together, he said, but I wasn't even listening to him. My whole thoughts were on how I had been the cause of her pain and suffering since she came into the pack when I should have been her protective shield. If I had not allowed my anger to overtake me at the sight of her hugging that pup, she might not have collapsed. I don't deserve to see her. What? Daxon boomed in my head, but I paid him no heed. Head straight to the clinic, Nathan. I won't be going to see her, I don't deserve to, I said into the midlink. What? You can't decide that for her. If you're ever going to win her back, now is the time to do that, stupid, Nathan shouted into the mind link, but my mind was already made. I wasn't asking for your opinion on this matter, Nathan. I'd suggest you keep them to yourself until I say otherwise, I said, and the midlink went silent. Maybe I was too harsh, but I also wanted to be left alone with my thoughts. I couldn't imagine seeing her take her last breath when I was with her. You're such a coward, Adrien, Daxon said angrily in my head, but I couldn't care less about what anyone said in that moment. Yes, I was a coward, but I'd rather not watch her die. Mom came home that night and lashed out at me, but I was not going anywhere. There wasn't anyone who could tell me a particular reason she was hospitalized, and I could barely feel the connection to her soul inside me. I raised you better, Adrien. You'd regret your decision whether she lives or dies, she said as she left my room that night. Daxon refused to talk to me, my parents refused to talk to me, Nathan would only give me updates when I forced it out of him. I was alone, completely alone, and I was slowly losing my mind. I thought about rejecting her, but my heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest any time I thought about it. It wasn't until yesterday that she came back to life that Nathan told me the real reason she collapsed and what Lila had told him. She apparently collapsed after one of the girls from the new group she went out with started blaming her that she was the reason her brother was in the hospital. The doctor stabilized her, but the greater shock came when she was to be changed out of her gown. Nathan said Lila had come to him crying about how no one deserves what she went through. He mentioned seeing her scars when she arrived in the pack, but she thought they were marks from where she was running and did not bother with it after they clothed her. I shook uncontrollably, and the only thing that stopped me from going to the hospital to take her into my arms was the shame from not showing up initially. I was so nervous when I heard that she was getting discharged that I couldn't get any sleep. How would I explain why I was absent to her? Would she be willing to work things out with me? Do I deserve her? I was preparing what I was going to say to her when I heard the door to the house open and close. As the footsteps made their way up the stairs, her scents invaded my nostrils and I wanted to hit myself for being such a fool. She stopped in her tracks for a while when she saw me before she made her way towards her room like I did not exist. I wouldn't lie and say it didn't hurt because it did. I was so shocked when she shouted at me. I had created a beast. Lola's POV. It's been a month since I got to Crescent Moon Pack. Let's just say it's been eventful. Since the day I got back from the clinic and went off like a bomb on Adrien, to be very honest, I was a ticking time bomb. I had not spoken to him till date. It's not like he did not try to speak to me, but I wasn't having it. Jasmine interrupted my chain of thoughts, and I would have smacked her if she weren't a part of me. You're so lucky you're a part of me. I'd have smacked the living daylights out of you, girl, I said to her, but she just laughed wolfishly. If you hurt me, you hurt yourself, doer. She snickered at me and I rolled my eyes. Yet, Jasmine and I have been more vocal and friendly now. We now communicate more because she's not always sleeping from taking my pain. Save the occasional heartache we get from resisting the bond for a while, we were perfectly fine and our scars were slowly fading. Rose would give me ointment to apply to my wounds. Turned out that the ointment I applied to my scars a day after Adrien's misbehavior was given to me by him. Little things like that are what made me want to get together with him, but when I remember the reason I had to use the ointment in the first place, I come back to my senses. Training has been going fine with Jaden. I have to say I've been impressed at the rate at which I was growing physically and mentally. Jaden said I'm easily one of the best students he's trained so far and my head couldn't help but swell whenever he says it. I've gone from basic workout to learning how to fight and spar. I could withstand getting hit now because I can definitely land a mean hit too. Jaden said I'd soon learn how to fight in my wolf form, but I wasn't ready to show Jasmine to the world. There's always been a reason my parents told me to keep her hidden. I don't think it's a good idea to let her be known to the world now. People still think I don't have a wolf. I don't understand how that's possible. Only the few I told I had a wolf know that I have a wolf. It will be so nice to finally be able to move freely and find the wind in my fur too. Jasmine's voice caked through our mind link and I face-palmed. Stop listening to my thoughts, Jas. I snapped at her, but I felt her roll her eyes at me. I can't help it. You don't put up a block. With that I blocked her out. Rose had been very helpful and I was glad I had Lila and her by my side. She had been the mother I never had, and Lila and the girls and I have formed some kind of sisterhood. They've always been supportive. We'd randomly go shopping or go to volunteer in the pack clinic. They said I needed to learn it as the future Luna, and no matter how hard I refused, they'd always drag me with them whenever that went. As if on cue, my phone rang and the caller ID showed that it was Lila. Yeah, I figured how to use it and many more, all thanks to the girls. I picked the call, put it on speaker and placed it on the bed. "And why are you not here yet?" she yelled out, and I was glad I did not place the phone close to my ear. My hearing has been so sensitive lately, I pick up even the tiniest of sounds, like the fact that Lila was trimming her toenails as she spoke to me. Or that Adrien was turning around restlessly on his bed. Blame the mate bond, please. Geez, girl. I'm almost done dressing up. I'll be with you soon, I lied to her. I wasn't done, but she did not have to know that. Soon? Lola, I know you haven't started dressing yet. I give you 30 minutes to shower and get you over here before I come get you myself, she said, and I almost giggled. She knows me so well. I heard the door open from her end of the call and 2 sets of footsteps entered the room. Is that Lola? Is she almost here? Lodina was the one who asked. Pretty sure she hasn't had her bath, Lila replied. You haven't taken your bath when my coming of age ceremony is just 4 hours away. You should have been here since morning. We're the all, remember? Avianka whined and I laughed. I promise you that I'd be there in 30 minutes. See you soon, guys. Without waiting for a response, I hung up and shot into the bathroom to do my routine. It was a quick shower and I packed my clothes into a bag so I could go and get ready with the girls. I met Rose on my way out and told her I was going to get ready with the girls. We hugged before I left. I ran the distance from the house to the pack house in less than 5 minutes, barely breaking a sweat nor out of breath. Yai, Jaden would have been proud to see that. I was greeted by Jace and his mate, Greg, as I entered the pack house. Yeah, that same Greg, who would have thought? Hi, gorgeous. Been a while since I saw you, he greeted me cheerfully and tried to leave Greg, who was holding onto him like a lifeline, to come and greet me, but Greg wasn't having any of it. Hey lovebirds, it's good to see you guys too. Especially you, Greg, I teased, and he became as red as a tomato. Hi, Lola, he greeted back shyly before grasping onto Jace more. I swear they're inseparable anytime I see them. I was about to leave when Alex came in too. Hey Lola, looking extra nice tonight. Did you do something with your hair? He asked, and I shook my head in disagreement. I noticed he sniffed the air quite a number of times and looked at me weirdly, but I shook it off. I'd see you guys around, I said before I dashed off towards Lila's former room. She moved into Nathan's house, but we still meet here when we have a group outing. Hey guys, I greeted them as I entered, and they all answered me, even though I was chastised a little for being late. We all dressed up prettily. Avianca was in a strapless red gown that had no back, Lodina was in a midnight blue gown that accentuated all of her curves, Lola looked stunning in her white gown that made sure all eyes were on her all night, and I was in my signature black dress. We all did our hair and had minimal makeup on. We left the room some minutes to 7 and all eyes were on us as we left the pack house. Or should I say, all eyes were on me? The guys we passed all looked at me with hunger in their eyes and sniffed the air like Alex did before. I shook it off and we entered the garden where the ceremony was to take place. We were all together until Avianca had to go on stage like Lila did the last time. I suddenly felt hot but chalked it up to the black clothes I wore. I kept fanning myself and adjusting my hair that was almost reaching my back now. The heat was becoming unbearable by the seconds, and I could feel my eyes trying to close on its own. I tried to tap Lila, but I couldn't as I felt the heat turn into a raging fire, starting from my fingertips and consuming the entirety of my being. I screamed out, disrupting the ceremony that was going on. I heard snarls and howls of male wolves around me and wondered what was going on. Lila tried to touch me, but she just made the pain worse, making me scream out again. She's in heat, Lila said to no one in particular. Jace and Greg were with us in a twinkle of an eye, trying to ward off men that were coming towards me. What's going on? What's heat? Mate. I want mate. Jasmine whimpered in my head. As Jace and Greg tried to wave off the men coming towards me, a loud growl that shook the whole pack house was heard and everyone moved back from me. Someone held me in their arms and I felt slightly better. I opened my eyes to see who held me, and it turned out to be Adrien. Mine. Mate. Jasmine kept chanting in my head. You can sleep now, baby. I'll take care of you, he said to me softly, and that was all I needed to close my eyes and be free from the pain. Adrien's POV. Ever since the hallway incident, all I could do was watch her grow into a strong woman. Watch her develop and build herself, because she did not want to be the one to lose out. I watched he become more beautiful and radiant day in day out. One she still wasn't comfortable with showing off her skin. I noticed the way she held herself changed. The way she was always quiet when she's with her friend, but when she speaks, they grab onto every of her words. I saw the way she slowly earned respect without having to do much. She showed the signs that she'd make a great Luna, and I could not deny that I made a mistake by treating her the way I did. Through her pain, she became a woman whom a lot respected. I forced her to grow. One dad would always talk about how she's one of the best he's ever trained, and let me tell you that dad is not one to dish out compliments unless you earn it. She'd been learning very fast, and dad said she'd be training in her wolf form soon. I only felt connection to her wolf once, it was almost like she did not have one. I really couldn't wait to see what her wolf looks like. If you thought I was excited to see her wolf, you should have seen Daxon. We were both anticipating, and I hoped it will be soon. I could hear her shuffling around in her room, and I listened attentively to everything she was doing. That's the only way I've been keeping myself sane since she refused to talk to me. I know I earned it, but she feels the mate pull too, right? How could she totally ignore me like that? The same way you totally ignored her you first met her, Daxon growled in my head. Lately, that seemed to be all we've been doing. Daxon constantly growling at me and blaming me while I ignored him. Yo man! Are you prepared for today's event? Nathan's voice came into my head, momentarily taking my thoughts off Lola. Another event? I think we've been having a lot of those these days. Whose coming of age ceremony is it now? I asked. I did not really feel like going out to see people's faces. It's one of Lola's girls, Avianca. It's her coming of age ceremony and the girls will be meeting up shortly, he said, and I got excited. Any opportunity to admire Lola from afar without seeing like a creep is enough for me. What time should I be there? I asked, and he laughed. The event starts by 7, man. Be there before then, he said before the mind link went silent again. That must be why she's moving about more today. I checked the time and it was just 3 in the afternoon. I still had time, so I decided that I was going to wait till she left before I started dressing up. It was obvious she was going to get dressed with the girls. I soon heard her bedroom door open and close, and her light footsteps could be heard in the hallways. Her scent suddenly hit me, and it took a lot of willpower to not go into the hallway and claim her as mine. I took deep breaths and tried to concentrate on my breathing rather than her scent. Daxon wasn't making it any better with the way he was pacing and howling in my head. He was trying to take over my body, but I resisted. I wouldn't be able to control his actions once he loses his shit, so I dug my nails in my palms, so much that it was drawing blood. The pain was what helped me to stay in focus and not lose my shit. After I was sure that she had left the house, I tried to communicate with a very restless Daxon. What the heck was that, man? You'd have done something you were not supposed to if I had given you control. What came over you? I said harshly to him, but he kept growling in my head. Mate. Mate. I want mate. I need her close to me. Mate. He kept chanting, so I blocked him out. Her scent was still heavy around the house, though it wasn't as overwhelming as it was when she was in the house. I was surprised I did not act on impulse. I couldn't blame Saxon that was trying to take control. Her scent has never been that strong before. I chalked it up to her wolf developing, since she has been doing a lot of growing the past few weeks. 2. I dressed up, putting a little effort in my look. I was in a 2-piece suit with a black tie. I found out that black was Lola's favorite color. I styled my hair, something I wouldn't normally do, and even used cologne to make me smell amazing. I was at the pack house by a little after 6, and the way Lola's scent was heavy in the air was almost dizzying. I could barely hold Daxon in again. I wandered off to the part of the pack house where the ceremony would take place in search of Nathan. Thankfully, her scent was not that strong and I was able to keep a clear head. I was standing near the stage when Nathan walked up to me. "You seem so restless. Is everything good?" he asked once he reached where I was standing, and I shook my head in negative. "I can smell Lola everywhere and it's starting to mess with my head," I said with a slight growl. I did not need to turn around to know that she was in the garden. Her scent became so overwhelming, it was almost painful. It was like it kept getting stronger by the seconds. The urge to walk up to her and claim her as mine was overwhelming. The ceremony soon started, but Lola's scent was all I could focus on. It was almost painful to be away from her. I longed to be one with her and make her mine completely. I suddenly noticed some males sniffing the air and getting restless as her scent grew stronger. I looked over to Nathan, but he wasn't doing the same thing. I had barely had time to process what was going on when a loud noise came from where Lola had been standing with her friends, and only her stunning black dress was missing from the group. "She's in heat," Lila shouted, and that was when it all clicked in my head. The overwhelming need to be with her, her strong sense, the unmated males that kept sniffing the air. I did not think before I ran towards the direction she was in. Nothing mattered in that moment. Not the fact that I had been a jerk to her, not the fact that she doesn't want to see me nor want me to touch her, nothing at all mattered. I ran to where she was laying and held her writhing body in my arms. She relaxed into my arms and slightly opened her eyes to look at me. "You can sleep now, baby. I'll take care of you," I whispered to her, and she closed her eyes as her body finally relaxed in my arms. Nathan was beside me as I scooped her into my arms. He, Jace and Greg were the ones holding off the unmated males that were trying to reach my woman. "The pack is not safe for her at the moment. Why don't you take her to the cabin? She'd be safer there and you can stay with her till she comes back to normal," he said, and I nodded at him. Ignoring my raging boner and the crazy males trying to get to my mate, I carried her into Nathan's car and gently placed her in the passenger's seat. She started becoming restless the moment I stopped holding her. I rushed into the driver's seat and kept one hand on her body as I sped out of the pack house. My heart was breaking as I took in her face that was contorted in pain. It was all my fault. If I had accepted her sooner and marked her, she wouldn't be in pain. "I'm sorry, Lola. I promise to make it up to you." Lola's POV. I was aware when he placed me inside the car because I started feeling hot all over when he left me for a moment. He soon entered the car and placed his hands on my body, sending some kind of relief through me. I wanted to ask what was happening to me and why I was feeling this way, but all that came out of my mouth were groans of pain. It was nothing like I've ever felt before. I know what it felt like when Adrien and Grayson had been with other she-wolves, but this was totally different. It was a pleasurable kind of pain. It sent heat to my core and I felt my attraction to Adrien multiply by 10-folds. As much as I wanted to stay away from him, I also wanted to jump his bone. It wasn't helping that Jasmine was restless in my head. "You're not being helpful, Jas. I need to stay away from him till he acknowledges me as his mate. I'm not going to throw myself at him just because of your horny ass," I said gently through our mind link, but she seemed to not hear any of what I said. I want mate. We need mate. She kept chanting in my head, so I tried as much as possible to block her out. Adrien's hands never left my body, and for that I was thankful, because it was the only reason I wasn't in as much pain as I was initially. If only he could roam his hands down my body and... Lola! Snap out of it! I chastised myself. I managed to open my eyes and saw that we were driving through nothing. There was no sign of life, just an eerily silent forest, but I felt at ease with Adrien. I just knew he wasn't going to hurt me. Where are we and what's going on with me? I finally managed to croak out. He looked at me so fast, we'd have swerved off the road if he wasn't holding the steering wheel. Hey, it's fine. You can go back to sleep. I'm going to get you to where you'll be comfortable soon enough. You don't have to worry your pretty head, he said breathlessly, and I wondered what was going on with him. It wasn't until I looked down that I saw the bulge in his pants. The urge to make him park the car and take me right there was overwhelming, but I restrained myself. I took in his side view and my stomach clenched uncontrollably, making me release sounds that were foreign to my ears. The sounds seemed to be affecting Adrien because he gripped the steering tighter and clenched his jaw so hard, I thought he was going to break his teeth. Are you okay? I managed to get out through the desires burning in my veins, and he nodded. We soon reached a lonely cabin sitting in the middle of the forest. It looked so dark and spooky, but it was magnificent. It wasn't your typical small house just sitting in the forest. It was magnificent and reeks of wealth. I'm going to get the inside of the cabin prepared for you. I don't know its conditions at the moment, and I wouldn't want anything happening to you in this state that you're in, he rushed out as he held both of my hands in his. Don't leave me alone, I cried out, hating that I sounded so weak in his presence, but the truth is I just wanted him close to me at all times now. I did not know whether it's the mate bond between us or this stupid heat talking. I promise that I'll be back before you know it. Just hang in there, baby, I'll be back soon. My heart fluttered at being called baby, and funny emotions erupted in my veins. I managed to nod my head through the waves of emotions that were rushing through me. The moment he left the car, the pains returned. This time with a force so hard, I found myself screaming again. I wanted to be freed from all the clothes on my body, but I couldn't seem to get them off. Lila for getting me into this clothes. I'll get her back for this once I'm okay. The door to the passenger side soon opened and I locked eyes with a very frightened Adrien. Hey, I'm sorry for leaving you alone. Please don't cry, he cooed as he cleaned my tears before scooping me into his arms and slamming the door shut with his foot. I did not even realize I was crying until he mentioned it. I don't want to seem like a weakling in front of him. He carried me into the house and I felt myself being placed on a very soft bed. He was about to leave when I pulled on his arm, stopping him from leaving. Please let me out of my clothes. They're so uncomfortable, please let me out of them, I whispered, and he looked taken aback. Are you sure, baby? He asked, and I nodded my head. That was the second time he was calling me baby that night, and it was doing unimaginable things to my body. He looked to be having a conflict within himself before he eventually started undressing me. He growled when he saw my scarred body, but I wasn't in the right mind to pay attention to that. I'd worry about it later. It felt so good to have his hands on me, and I might have moaned a little, bringing his movement to a halt. "You're not helping me, Angel. I won't be able to control myself if you keep moaning like that," he breathed out huskily, and I involuntarily clenched my thighs. "Don't hold back, then. Please, Adrien," I begged him on the verge of tears. I never thought I'd have to beg him to be ravished. It was very embarrassing, but I wasn't thinking with my head at that moment. "If I'd be buried inside you, it will be because you actually want it. Not because you're in heat, Lola. I am going to make you scream out my name in pleasure when the time comes, and you'll be in your clear mind when I do," he whispered close to my ear before biting my earlobe, sending waves of pleasure through me. "Adrien, please," I begged with tears in my eyes. I was about to open my mouth to say something else when his lips suddenly descended on mine. It sent fire through my body, and it felt so good. He licked my bottom lip for permission, and I granted him access into my mouth. I did not know if I was doing well, but he did not seem to mind. Without thinking about it too much, I wrapped my arms around his neck, gently pulling on his hair. His mouth felt so warm, and I could not seem to get enough of it. The fire running through me was replaced by another type of fire, and I was loving every moment of it. I did not care that he was fully clothed while I laid bare beneath him. I could feel my body shaking, and my lower stomach was in knots, making me moan out and pull on his hair harder. Adrien," I moaned out. "I know, baby," he said. I felt his hands going to the center of my body while he sucked on the spot where my shoulder and neck meet. "Let it go, baby," he murmured into my neck, and that was all I needed for my body to combust in pleasure. I screamed out as he kept running the center between my legs. When I could speak again, he pulled away from me, making me whimper from the loss of contact. He came back with a wet towel and cleaned me up. "Adrien," I called out to him, but he stopped me. "We'll talk about it in the morning. Get some rest now, my Luna," he whispered as he kissed my forehead. I wanted to ask him what he meant by what he said last, but I got pulled into a peaceful darkness. Lola's POV. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and fully relaxed. I was not even that relaxed the first day. I slept in a very comfortable bed for the first time in 8 years. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders and mind. I was confused for a moment before the memories of last night came rushing back to me. I buried my head in a pillow as I screamed into it, "Oh my goddess! What am I going to do? How do I face him? Why did I allow myself to get so carried away by my emotions and needs? I blame Jasmine. Hey, it was all you that begged him to take you. I wasn't in control of your body." I can't say I did not enjoy the moments though, she yipped happily in my head, and I buried my face in my hands again. She was right. I'd gladly go through all the pains again if it meant I could experience last night again. I screamed into the pillow in the air this time around. I remembered the feelings he ignited in me when he touched in between my legs. I slowly dragged my fingers to the same spot his fingers were the night before and rubbed the tiny nub that was there. It felt good, not as good as Adrien's fingers felt, and I moaned a little. How come I had never done this before? I thought to myself as I rubbed the nub with a little bit of force, igniting the same funny feeling that erupted in my stomach when Adrien touched me the night before. Imagining it was Adrien's hands that were on me, I moaned out his name. I erupted like I did the night before, panting when I finally came down from my high. While that was a sight to behold, I'd rather be the only one to make you feel good. Adrien's voice came huskily from the door and I whipped my head so fast in his direction, I think I broke something in my neck. Adrien, good morning, I stuttered, clamoring to wrap the duvet around my body. He saw all of you yesterday night, why do you bother to hide your body from him? Let him ravish your body like he did yesterday night. You don't have to be shy about it, Jasmine purred in my head and I became red from embarrassment. Shut your snout, you, I screamed at her in my head while trying to keep a neutral face. Adrien smirked as he came towards and I moved back on the bed as much as I could. Good morning, beautiful. Hope you had a good night's rest. He asked and I nodded. Not wanting to be rude, I asked him if he enjoyed his night too. How was your night, also? I asked in a small voice. His eyes lit up mischief as he sat at the edge of the bed. Why is that? I asked curiously but regretted it almost immediately. Your body kept me awake all night. I couldn't get your moans out of my head. Your body reacted to my touch, tested my patience all night, he said, gently biting on his lower lips while he stared at me. I buried my face in the duvet and he laughed. I have to admit that his laughter was so masculine, I wanted to jump his bone. Stop getting these thoughts into my head, Jasmine. Girl, you even blocked me out and it's my fault you have such thoughts. Jasmine asked in my head and I face-palmed. She was right. It was all me. I made breakfast, I looked surprised by that sentence. Don't look at me like that, I can make simple breakfast, he said before laughing. To be candid, I was amazed that Adrien was talking to me so casually. I liked it but there was this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that it wasn't going to last but I shook it off. Let's live in the moment. Earth to Lola, his voice brought me out of my thinking. I'd like to shower first, I said and he nodded his head but kept on standing there. I raised my eyebrow at him in question and that's when he realized what I wanted. Oh, okay. Of course, no problem. I'd leave out some clothes for you to change into, he said while scratching the back of his neck. At the mention of clothes, my mood soured. Of course, he's brought Faye here and her clothes would be left behind. He must have caught on to what I was thinking because he quickly added, I mean, Mom might have left some of her clothes behind since this is their hideout. He rushed out and I nodded. He quickly rushed out of the room, not before I saw the tip of his ears turned red. The big bad alpha was embarrassed. What a sight to behold! I slowly got up and walked into the bathroom connected to the room. The first thing I did was check out myself in the mirror and I gasped when I saw the girl looking back at me. Lately, I've been adding flesh in the proper places so it doesn't hurt to look at myself in the mirror anymore. Save the scars on my body was nearly perfect and I was starting to get comfortable in my skin, but what I saw in the mirror that morning left me amazed. My scars were almost gone. I could swear that they were still visible when I was dressing up at the pack house just yesterday. The wolf tattoo over my heart was a very visible white color but you could miss it if you were not looking from how milky my skin looked. Let's not talk about my hair and eyebrows, they were completely white and had a glow to them. My glowing blue eyes seemed to have a fire in them that made them seem to sparkle. I could not deny that I looked totally amazing, a complete 360 degrees from the girl that entered the Crescent Moon pack a month ago. I heard footsteps in the room and thought it was Adrien, but his scent was different. Probably the scent of the food he was making was what changed his scent. I shook it off as I hurriedly took a shower and left the bathroom. There was a metallic scent in the air that wasn't there before I left for the bathroom, and I was confused. Why is the stench of blood string in the air? I touched in between my legs in case I missed the fact that I was on my period, but my hands came back clean. I turned towards the direction the scent was the strongest and let out a scream. Lola's POV: I was still screaming when Adrien ran into the room. Before I could speak, he'd pulled me into an embrace. Hey, Lola, look at me. What's the matter, baby? What's wrong? He asked worriedly, and I pointed towards the bathroom door where the stench of blood was coming from. Soon, "You'll be mine" was written boldly with blood on the white bathroom door. What? Adrien swore under his breath, but I heard him. Gently sitting me on the bed, he went to look at the window that was now opened. He slammed his hands on the windowsill, making me jump in fear. He must have noticed the effect the sudden sound had on me, because he came towards me and held me. "Are you cold?" he asked, and that was when I realized that I was shaking. I remembered that I was in my towel and tried to make myself smaller, but he wasn't having any of it. He pulled me closer to him like he was trying to shield me, and I felt safer than I'd ever been. "I understand that you might not want to be alone now, but you need to change your clothes so we can leave here before Dad and some warriors get here," he said, still holding onto me tightly. I nodded my head and he let me go. "You can go ahead to change in the bathroom, I'll stay here. I can't risk anybody coming into this room again," he growled lowly, but I know the anger wasn't directed at me. I picked the clothes and hurriedly went to change into them in the bathroom. The clothes surprisingly fitted me perfectly, and it was also comfortable. I walked out to see Adrien sitting there with a glazed eye, indicating that he was somnambuling though the mind link. "I'm sorry I ruined breakfast for us," I apologized, and his hard eyes softened a bit. "No, I'm sorry for not being able to stop this madness from happening. You must have been startled. Are you okay, baby?" he asked, worry evident in his eyes. Was I okay? No, I wasn't, but he did not have to know that. Just when I was trying to get my life together, someone shows up threatening to make me theirs, and I was supposed to be okay. "Yeah, I'm fine," I nodded. He saw through my lie but did not push further, which I was thankful for. He looked like he was about to talk when cars pulled up in front of the cabin. Adrien stood up and held my hands by the wrist before pulling me out with him. I was engulfed in hug by Lila and Rose once I got out of the cabin. "Why are you here?" I asked in surprise. I wondered what they were told that made them come for me on such notice. "What do you mean why?" Rose asked in astonishment. "Girl, we heard you were in shock, so we're here to take you to the pack doctor," Lila rushed out. I almost did not hear her with how fast she was. "He'd have come with us, but he had some issues to take care of today at the clinic," Rose piped in. "Did you find anything, son?" Jaden asked Adrien, who shook his head. "Just multiple footprints. They must have masked their scent because I sniffed the air and I couldn't make out anything. It wasn't until I went into Lola's room that I smelled the blood. It must have been some kind of magic," he explained. "Was I the only one that was able to smell what their scent was like?" I wanted to talk, but I kept it to myself. My senses must be playing tricks on me. If the Alpha King couldn't sniff them out, who am I to pipe in? A powerful wolf. One that hasn't been seen in years. A voice echoed in my head and I got confused. What is Jasmine up to now? Jasmine, this is not the time to joke around. The situation is pretty serious, I snapped at her in my head. I heard the same voice, human. I was about to ask you about it. Don't you dare snap at me. She snapped back and I got more confused. What was that sound and what did it mean? Nathan, you should take the Luna and the girls home. We'd be right behind you, Jaden said to Nathan, who immediately nodded. Rose and Lila led me towards the car where Nathan was already waiting for us. I looked back at Adrien and he looked like he'd rather be the one to drive me back to safety than trust anyone. Let's go, Jaden said to him. He hesitated before he turned around to go back into the cabin with his father. To be very honest, I wanted him to be the one to drive me back to the pack house. I feel safest when I'm with him. Whoa, where is that coming from? Was I losing my mind? It probably has to do with the mate bond. The ride home was shorter than I thought it would be. It was probably the pain that clouded my judgment on the way here. Rose and Lila chatted with me excitedly, but all I could think of was Nathan. I felt so alone, like something was missing within me. I wanted to be with him at all times. I did not understand this sudden urge to be with him, but I kinda liked it. We drove straight to the pack clinic. The doctor did a quick checkup and said I was okay, so we went back to the house. Rose offered to make food for me and I agreed. That stupid culprit ruined my breakfast. I ate a little, thanked Rose, then made my way to my room. On the way to my room, I had the urge to enter Adrien's room and sleep in his bed. His scent comforted me and I want to be wrapped in it always. Instead, I took one of his shirt and made my way to my room. I changed into his shirt and got into bed. When I was alone with my thoughts, it drifted back to the message written in blood and fear shuddered through my body. Who was the person and why did he want me? Lola's POV. The next morning, I woke up with some kind of strange feeling rushing through me. My senses were heightened so much that I could hear even the faintest of sounds from the forest behind the house, like the little noises made by the insects in the forest. Do you feel it too, Jasmine? I asked and she made a sound that seemed like a groan. Can you try not to scream next time, please? She groaned again. I think I have it worse because I'm your wolf side. What do you think is happening? I asked her in a whisper. I did not want to hurt her if I could avoid it. If I knew, I wouldn't be in so much pain. It's a lot to get used to, she murmured before she went silent. She was right, it was a lot to take in. I could hear Adrien's even breathing in his room. I could hear the clanking of plates and Rose's gentle singing. I could hear the sound of the newspaper that Jaden was flipping from the living room. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, hoping that it was a malfunction of my body that will go once I open my eyes. I opened my eyes, but it just got more overwhelming. My phone suddenly rang and I had to cover my ears to reduce the shrill sound. Even Jasmine growled a little in my head at the sudden sound. I checked the phone and Lila's name was on the screen. I mentally prepared myself before picking up the call. Hey Lola, her loud voice came through the phone, making Jasmine growl again in my head. I resisted the urge to snarl at her and took a deep breath. Hey Lila! Can you please lower your voice? I have a huge headache right now, I partially lied to her. Well, I did not want to tell her what was going on with me without fully knowing what's wrong with me. Oh, I see. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I wanted to invite you to a gathering that's happening at the Pack Orphanage today, but it seems you won't be able to make it. I was thinking you could inspire them since you told us about your background too. She took a deep breath after that, probably thinking she had offended me. You know you were supposed to tell me before making me volunteer for such a thing, right? I asked her and she took a deep breath. I'm sorry, I was going to tell you because I just signed up for it the day Avianca turned 18, but then what happened and I wasn't able to tell you again, and then it is today and I did not want to turn them down and, can you please come for a little while? She rushed out in her loud voice again and I groaned in pain. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's going to be a short event, I promise it won't take long, she whispered and I sighed. Fine, I'll come, but I'm not going to stay for long, I said, and she screamed in excitement. Lila, I whined and she quickly apologized. The event is by 12 p.m, please be here by 11, she pleaded. I checked the time and it was just 8 in the morning. Fine, I'll be there. You're lucky I like you, Lila, I said as she blew me a kiss. I love you too, see, and with that, the line went silent. I flopped back on my bed and laid in a starfish position. I guess I have to go out today. I got up, brushed my teeth and washed my face before going downstairs to assist Rose. Since the incident with Greg, Rose barely allows me to help her with anything in the house, and if I ask her why, she'd just ignore, so I stopped asking. Good morning, Rose, I greeted as I entered the kitchen. The clanking of pans and her humming intensified my headache and I had to hold my head to steady myself. Rose noticed it and ran towards me. Hey, Pumpkin. You okay? She asked worriedly. I forgot to tell you guys that she'd been calling me pet names and treated me like her own. I wouldn't be surprised if she asked me to call her mom. My senses are heightened this morning, it must have been due to the shock yesterday, I replied in a faint voice before giving her a smile. She did not look convinced but led me to the kitchen stools and sat me on one of them. You should eat and then lie down a bit more, she said, sorry evident in her eyes, and I felt bad for being the one that made her have the look in her eyes. It's fine really. I have to attend a gathering at the orphanage today and I promised Lila that I'll be there, I told her with a tired smile. I can have the whole meeting rescheduled if you're feeling a bit under the weather. I shook my head at her statement. No, please. I'm sure I'd be fine once I see my friends and have fun a bit. I hoped I had somehow convinced her and sent a quick thanks to the moon when she did not argue any further. I ate as much as I could, thanked Rose for the food and left for my room. I washed my hair and body and got dressed in a cute top and blue jeans. I ran comb through my hair, applied lip gloss, and made my way to the venue after bidding Rose goodbye. I made it to the venue just in time and saw the girls waiting expectantly. Lila's eyes lit up when she saw me and they dragged me over to our designated seat. It was almost time for me to give my talk and my palms were sweaty and I was a bit jittery. My name was soon called and as I made my way towards the makeshift stage, Faye appeared in front of me with her minions. Lila was beside me in an instant. What do you want, Peesh? She snarled at Faye, who laughed humorlessly. I do not have business with you, elf. I only have eyes for freak over here, she said, and her stupid minions laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. What do you want? I asked coolly. I wasn't afraid of her, I just wanted her to be gone out of my sight. So she speaks, the orphan speaks. I thought you were going to hide under the shadow of your friends forever, but it looks like you've got some guts, she said, and I just looked at her. She was boring me. Is that all? I have children to talk to and your presence isn't needed, I told her and made my way towards the stage. You really think you're going to become Luna? Adrien will never choose you, freak. An orphaned freak like you can never be great, she said, and I stopped in my tracks. If she had said such a month ago, I'd have cowered and cried in a corner, but not anymore. I turned towards her and she looked taken aback by the momentum before masking it. What did you just say? I asked, and she smirked before talking. I said an orphaned freak like you can never be Luna because Adrien will never choose you, she repeated. No, she shouldn't have, Jasmine growled in my head and had taken over my body before I could resist. I heard a few people around us gasp, but my focus was on the beach in front of me. Before I could comprehend what was going on, she had been flung to the other side of the room and everyone let out a collective gasp. I took control of my body back and Lila was beside me in an instant. Before I could ask her what happened, I had been pulled into a world of darkness. Lola's POV. I opened my eyes and I was back in that garden again. With the rate at which I showed up in this garden, I might as well stay there permanently. I looked around expecting to see the bright light and hear the moon goddess voice, but what I saw left me in awe. Walking majestically towards me was a magnificent silver wolf with blue and golden eyes. The wolf looked familiar and had a striking resemblance to Jasmine, but I was so sure Jasmine was a white wolf, so I cancelled it out. Selene! I called out and a scoff sounded in my head. Seriously, Lola? How do you not recognize your own wolf? The voice sounded again in my head and I was wowed. Jasmine! You look completely different. Wow! You look totally amazing, I gushed, and she held her head high in a form of pride, making me laugh. I know you've always been gorgeous, but you look 10 times more beautiful than I remember, I said, and she laughed. Tell me about it. Up until Faye got me angry, I was just a white wolf with specks of silver. I'm totally loving my fur, girl, she said in my head as she walked around elegantly. Why do you think we're here though? I asked her, and she shook her head like she was saying she had no idea. I was about to say something else when the bright light that accompanies the moon goddess shone. Welcome my children, her angelic voice rang through the garden. Selene, I greeted, and Jasmine bowed her head in greetings. I'm so proud of you too. You've come a long way and have shown that you are ready for the prophecy that you were chosen for, she spoke calmly, and I got more confused. Chosen? Prophecy? What's going on? Prophecy? What prophecy? I questioned. I shared a look with Jasmine and she looked confused too. You're going to find out soon enough. Now it's time, she spoke gently. The wind around us became still. I was wondering what was going on when my limbs felt like they were being broken and replaced again. I opened my mouth in a silent scream and Jasmine howled in pain in my head. What's going on? I managed to voice out. The next step in your journey of self-discovery, her gentle voice echoed in the still garden. Fire consumed my entire body and I closed my eyes and waited for the pain to pass. When I finally opened my eyes, all I saw was darkness, but I could hear a beeping sound around me. I was confused and scared. Did I go blind? Am I in a kind of place where souls who have lost their way stay? A lot of thoughts crossed my mind as I tried to open my eyes to no avail. I could hear voices too. I know Adrien's voice too well to miss it. He was saying things that were not audible enough for me to make out what he was saying. I heard Rose too, and she seemed to be crying. I wanted to tell them that I was fine, but I was stuck in that dark place. Jasmine, Jasmine, I called out frantically. She seemed to be in pain too when we were in the garden. Sometimes, you need to learn when to pipe down, her voice rang in my head and I breathed a sigh of relief. What do you think is going on? I can hear beeping sounds all around me, but I can't seem to open my eyes, I whined to Chelsea. Maybe you should try again, she said weakly, and I nodded my head before trying to open my eyes. This time around they opened. My mistake was opening them too fast because the light stung my eyes and I groaned out in pain, drawing attention to myself. It was Adrien that came to me first. Are you okay, baby? Do you need anything? The doctor is on his way. What do you want me to get you? He asked worriedly. While I was glad that he cared enough about me, his voice was giving me a headache. My senses were still sensitive, in fact more sensitive than they were before I lost consciousness. Without opening my eyes, I croaked out, water please." A cup was lifted to my lips moments later and I gulped down the contents of the cup in one go. "Baby, are you good now?" Adrien's voice reached my ears and I nodded. I felt like I just woke up from a deep sleep, nothing was actually wrong with me. I did not feel pain anywhere either, so I guess that means I was okay. "Open your eyes, baby. Look at me please," Adrien worriedly said. I peeled my eyes opened and heard Rose gasping, even Adrien looked dumbfounded. I was about to ask what happened when the doctor walked in with his nurses. One, he looked surprised too, but he masked it quickly. He walked towards me, did checkups before saying that I could be discharged that day. After he left, I had to change into casual clothes so we could go home. I refrained from asking the questions on the tip of my tongue, I was going to ask later. Rose offered to help me get changed, but I assured her that I could do it on my own and made my way to the bathroom. I was shocked by what I saw in the mirror. A completely white-haired girl with glowing blue and golden eyes stared back at me in the mirror. I totally have the exact shade of eyes as Jasmine, her right eye was my left eye and vice versa. The greatest shock came to me when I removed the hospital gown and looked at my skin in the mirror. It was totally flawless, like I had never had a scar on it before. My back was all free from scars. My whole body was clean and looked milky. I had not seen my skin so clear since Mom and Dad passed away. Going into the shower, Selene's words keep ringing in my head. What was I chosen for and why? Adrien's POV: a week. She had been sleeping for a week. The pack doctors could not find anything wrong with her. She looked so peaceful, but I needed her to open her pretty eyes for me. The only reason Faye was still alive was the fact that she was in a worse condition than my beautiful mate. I was surprised when I got the message from Nathan that Lola had fainted again. I was doing some paperwork in the study when I heard his voice in my head. Yo, Adrien. There's a problem. He sounded a bit nervous and I sat up. Could it be another rogue attack? What's it? Is it another rogue attack? I asked calmly. No, man. It's Lola, she collapsed again, he said, and I stood up in one fluid motion from my seat. Where is she? I growled out and I was out of the house in no time. I transformed into my wolf midway and entered the hospital in a hurry. Daxon was agitated and refused to let me take control of my body back. Buddy, I need to be in charge if we're going to find Lola. I tried to convince him but he wasn't having any of it. I need to find Mate. Mate is hurt, I need to find Mate. He kept growling, scaring the nurses and patients in the clinic. It wasn't until Nathan came out to see that I was the one causing chaos in the clinic that I was able to get control of my body. Lola is well. She's just sleeping, he said with a bow. Yet, he has to respect me where there's a lot of people. He might be my best friend but the pack still places value of respect for the alphas and lunas. Hear that, buddy? She's awake and you don't want to scare her when she wakes up to you causing such unrest in the clinic. That was all it took for him to allow me to change back and Nathan threw a sweatpant and shirt at me. As werewolves, we station clothes everywhere in the pack. Knowing that we could change at any time and rip off the clothes on our body, we put clothes at strategic points. What happened to her? I asked as we made our way into the clinic. Faye happened, he said, and I saw red. I specifically told that Peach to stay away from my mate and she hurt her again. I growled loudly. Take her to the dungeon, I barked out my order before proceeding forward in the direction I could smell Lola from. I can't take her to the dungeon, Nathan said behind me and I turned to him with anger running through my veins. How dare he defile my orders, especially when it comes to his Luna. Did you just defile my orders, Beta? I asked, letting my alpha voice tone slip into my voice, forcing him into submission. No, Alpha. You should see for yourself, he said before leading me into a room where I could smell Faye from. I was shocked when I entered the room. Did you say she had an altercation with Lola? I asked and Nathan nodded. I was amazed and I dare say, proud of what I saw. Her head was wrapped in a bandage and she looked terrible. What exactly happened? If she's like this, then what situation would Lola be in? I asked in awe. Faye was one of our strongest warriors and had fast healing abilities. It was a shock to me that she wasn't healing fast. It was a greater shock that she was this way because she went up against Lola. That's what everyone is asking. Lola doesn't have a single scratch on her and well, Faye is like this, he said and I sensed pride in the way he spoke. I guess he was proud of his Luna too. I went to where Lola was and met Lila and her friends with her. Lila was crying and kept blaming herself for what happened. I dismissed them and sat with her till Mom and Dad came. I heard what happened, how's that possible? Mom said immediately she entered. Faye is a very good fighter and one of the finest of our pack. How could she be in such a condition and Lola doesn't seem to be affected one bit? She asked no one in particular and we all wondered. I stayed by her side, only leaving to ease myself. If I had to shower, I just did it in the clinic bathroom. I wanted to be there when she opened her eyes. I was getting angry every day and I was so close to turning the whole hospital upside down. I was angry but I needed to be strong for her. Mom would cry but that just pissed me off. I wanted to see her beautiful eyes and her smile, even if it won't be directed at me. After listening to the circumstances surrounding the event that happened, Dad suggested that we bring Serena in and she agreed to come but only when Lola woke up. I was so close to losing in the middle of an argument with Mom when I heard her make a sound. I rushed towards her but she had her eyes closed. I pulled the curtains closed and switched off the light but it was still bright. After giving her some water, I urged her to open her eyes. I was shocked when I saw the color of her eyes. Her beautiful blue eyes were different from what they used to be. She had one glowing blue eye and one glowing golden eye. I was shocked by this and Mom gasped behind me too. I'd never seen such eyes on any wolf before and trust me when I say I'd seen a lot of wolves. The pack doctor came in and said she could be discharged after running a couple of tests on her. She seemed like she wanted to ask questions but kept it in. She asked to go change in the bathroom. Mom and I exchanged looks the moment she was out of sight. We need Serena here now, I mind-linked Mom and she nodded like she was thinking the same thing. Lola's POV. I took a deep breath before I opened the door back into the clinic room. All eyes turned on me immediately I entered. Jaden and the girls were already there and Lila came to me when she got over her shock at my new appearance. I was glad no one said a thing, it would be so bizarre to tell them that I was in the moon goddess garden and she made my wolf and I won. Thank goddess you're okay, girl. Don't you dare pull that kind of trick on me again, she pouted and I chuckled softly. I think I like that atmosphere of the clinic, I might come here every now and then, I said with a laugh but no one found it funny. They all stared at me with a blank look and I coughed a little before scratching the back of my neck nervously. Yeah, that wasn't funny. I'm sorry guys, I apologized with a nervous smile and looked down at my feet. Let's get you home to comfort, Lola, Rose said as she held my second hand and stirred me towards the door. We were already out of the room when I remembered something. Where's she? I asked and they all exchanged looks. Who, darling? Rose asked me. Faye, I answered in a monotonous voice and they all kept quiet. What's going on? Why are they quiet? Wait, I did not. She's not dead, right? Please tell me that I did not kill her, I pleaded, tears starting to form in my eyes. I might not like her but that doesn't mean I wished her dead. A hand wrapped around my waist from behind and Rose and Lila let go of me. I'll show you where she is, he whispered, and they must have spoken through the mind link because everybody else left, leaving both of us alone in the clinic corridor. I felt so safe and at peace in his arms as he led me towards where Faye was, yet I refused to look him in the eyes. I did not know why I felt so shy, like I was just meeting him for the first time. He opened a door and led me into the room. I gasped when I saw Faye's condition, she looked lifeless save the steady rise and fall of her chest. I did that. I managed to stutter as I pointed towards her body. I couldn't believe that I put her in the position before me. Yes, you did, Lola, Adrien spoke before me and I turned to face him with bated breath. His eyes did not give away anything he was feeling. Was he mad I made his toy this way? Would he lash out for hurting a fellow pack member? You did and I'm proud of you, he said, and a grin broke out on his face while his eyes shone with pride and adoration. He was proud of me. I'm not happy you hurt another pack member, but she had it coming for her. If she had not crossed you, you wouldn't have lashed out. One, he said with a smile, and I felt my heart tug at his handsome face. He must have felt the same thing because he pulled me closer by my waist while looking into my eyes. It was like an invisible glue was in between us, and I wanted to soak in all of the feelings. You feel it too, don't you? He whispered, and I nodded my head. Jasmine was howling in excitement in my head. It felt like the first time I met him all over again. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt like I was going to fall from the intensity of his eyes on me. Mine. He growled, his eyes turning golden, which indicated that his wolf was in control. He gently cupped my chin, and I reverted to the back of my mind so that Jasmine could talk to her mate. You look totally beautiful, mate, he said in a husky voice, and Jasmine whimpered. I rolled my back at the back of my mind where I was watching the interaction. A wolf chosen for a great prophecy, my foot. I've been waiting for you to come to me. He pulled her closer, and Jasmine would have dropped my panties there and then if he'd asked. I'd have made you mine since I saw you, but my human is a fool. I snickered at that. He sure is, a big fool at that. Adrien's eye colors kept changing before he eventually got control of his body back. Jasmine refused to let me take control of my body, demanding that Alexander bring her mate back so she could speak to him. 11. I did not get his name. I just want to see him again so he can tell me his name, she whined, and I rolled my eyes at her. Jasmine, let me take control of my body, I asked gently, but she refused. I almost screamed but kept it in. Why did I get paired with such an obstinate wolf? His name is Dakeson, and I promise that you're going to see him soon, in his wolf form, Adrien cajoled her before she finally allowed me to take control back. We both laughed softly at the antics of our wolves before I looked towards the bed where Faye was laying, and I got serious again. Why do you think she's not healing? She's a high-ranking wolf and one of the strongest in the pack, no. He nodded, and I sighed as I looked towards the bed again. What do you think is happening with me, Adrien? I asked in a low tone, and he patted my head before pulling me into a hug. We're going to find out soon. The pack sorceress is waiting for us at home. Home. The word felt nice, and I smiled. Sure, let's go home. Before we could get out of there, I tugged on his arm and he stopped to face me. This means you've accepted me as your mate, right? I asked boldly, even though I was scared of what his answer might be. Yes, Lola. I choose you as my Luna, if you're going to take me back, of course, I nodded. I accept you as my mate, Adrien. You have a lot of pleading to do though. It will take a while to appease me, I said with a smile before we walked out of the room hand in hand. Maybe being reborn with a purpose wasn't a bad idea after all. Lola's POV: I had the option to walk home, but Adrien said, and I quote, I can't risk anything happening to you, I'd never forgive myself. So he decided that we would take a car instead. It wasn't like anything was going to happen to me if I walked like all the other regular people. Jasmine laughed in my head, yet, you're as red as a tomato, and I wanted to slap her. With a hint of sarcasm seeping through, I remarked, geez, what a supportive wolf you are. She continued to mock me, and my want to slap her grew stronger. "You're stuck with me whether you like it or not, girl, so get over it," she taunted. "You're suddenly so energetic after meeting Daxon. Maybe accepting the mate bond was a bad idea," I said into the mind link, knowing that she wasn't going to take it well. "Don't you dare say accepting the mate bond was a mistake. My mate and I were already apart for so long because your mate decided to be a jerk," she snapped. I felt bad for even bringing it up and went silent. "So, what do you say?" Adrien's voice reached my ear and I pulled myself out of the mental conversation and focused on him. "What?" I managed to get out. He looked at me in bewilderment for a millisecond before he looked back at the road. I blushed furiously and looked down at my entwined hands. It was definitely Jasmine's fault I did not really pay attention to what he was saying. "Hey, I did not," she was about to argue but I cut off the mind link. "I'm sorry. I wasn't really paying attention," I managed to get out and he chuckled lightly. "You're cute for thinking that I'd get mad at you because you zoned out," he patted my head briefly before concentrating on the road again. He soon pulled up at the house and I could feel my heart beating erratically in my chest as he turned off the car's engine and turned to face me. "I asked if you want to go on a date with me," Lola said in a husky voice. I blushed furiously as I could not believe my ears. "Adrien wants to go on a date with me?" I guess almost dying made him realize that I was his mate. I looked at him to find him staring at me, anticipation evident on his face. "I don't know, Adrien. You haven't proven to me that you deserve my love and attention. What if you change your mind again?" I questioned him. I wanted to be sure I wasn't digging my own grave by agreeing to be with him. A look of hurt passed his eyes briefly but he masked it. For he held my hands and made me look into his eyes. "Baby, I know I F up royally but I can explain everything that has happened. Please give me a chance to prove myself," he pleaded and my resolve softened. "Just a chance?" I asked in a small voice. "Yeah, just a chance," he whispered and made a move to kiss me when he suddenly pulled back. "Our presence is needed inside," he murmured and pulled back. I wanted to pull him back to me and lock lips with him but I did not want to look so desperate. They couldn't have waited a minute more before requesting that we come in? Sheesh. Like he knew what I was thinking, Adrien chuckled and got out of the car. He came around to my side to open the door and held my hands to help me out of the car. "I know you are angry for not getting that kiss but I promise you that we'd be doing much more than that in a while," he whispered into my ear as a shiver ran down my spine. Good goddess! We walked hand in hand into the house and everyone seemed surprised at the fact that we were holding hands but no one said anything. I looked around the room and was a bit taken aback when I saw Serena sitting in the living room with others. What was she doing here? "Serena?" I questioned in disbelief and everyone except Layla looked shocked that I knew her. "You guys have met?" Adrien asked and I nodded. Yeah, the day Lila and I had a girls' day out," I said. "More like a getaway," Jasmine said in my head and I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. Why is she here and why is everyone looking at me like I have grown two heads? I asked even though I know why they were looking at me but I did not want them to think about me differently. "You know why I am here but they do not." "I'm here to shed light on that," she said calmly. "What's her connection to the pack? I thought Lila only knew her from the spa." 2. I'm sure you're curious about what the moon goddess said on your last visit to her garden, she said, and I nodded even though everyone else in the room was shocked by that realization. 1. You saw the moon goddess? Was that why she kept fainting? Alexander asked from beside me, and Serena nodded with a smile. 8. What about her appearance? How did she change so drastically? Even her scars are gone, completely gone, he asked again, and I looked at him in shock. He knew? Like he could hear what I was thinking, he nodded at me. Yes, I know your scars are completely gone. I noticed it when the doctor was doing many tests on you earlier, he explained, and I nodded. We turned back to Serena, eager to hear what she had to say. I also wanted to know that reason I was like this. She's a part of something bigger. Something the whole of the wolf world has been anticipating. She took a pause after that, and it was obvious that everyone wanted to hear what she had to say. You're the moonwolf, Lola. You're the wolf with the power of the moon goddess, Serena said, and gasps were heard around the room. Even Adrien was shocked. Moonwolf? Power of the moon goddess? Me? I still had no idea of what the moonwolf was and why I was chosen to be her. I also wanted to know why I had suddenly transformed and why my skin had changed completely. Not like I was complaining about that aspect. But why am I suddenly transformed, and does the whole new skin comes with the package? I asked, and everyone turned to Serena at that. I guess I wasn't the only curious one. You're reborn. The war is upon us and it's up to you to save all of us, she replied, and the room went so silent that a pin could be heard if it was dropped in that moment. Lola's POV. The room went silent and I looked around the room to find various expressions on people's faces, but none portrayed joy nor happiness. We were just told we were going to lead a war, and you expect anyone to be glad about it? Jasmine asked in my head, and I wanted to scream. Did I suffer for 8 years just to be pushed into war? And I thought I was going to get a good life now that I have clear skin. I guess I have to do away with that thought. What exactly is the prophecy, and how am I supposed to lead it when I don't even know what it is about nor what I can do? Is this some kind of joke? I questioned with a humorless laugh, since I couldn't bring myself to cry about the matter at hand. A long time ago, Selene was forcefully taken by the god of rogues, Hermes. Hermes married her forcefully after he threatened to tear down her city if she didn't comply with him. Selene, being the kind and peaceful soul that she was, agreed to marry him and was taken far away from her people. Serena started, and Adrien led me towards a chair as we've been standing since we came in. Selene wasn't happy with Hermes, but she had no choice if she wanted her people to be safe. Everything in Hermes' town was weird and disturbing, but Selene couldn't say a thing nor ask anything regarding it if she did not want to lose her life. Hermes did not have been with her, he'd just occasionally come in to draw some of her blood and leave afterwards. She got curious one day and followed him stealthily without him noticing. She was surprised by what she saw. In a different part of his town, he had some kind of rituals he was doing to transform men into wild-looking animals. They seemed almost wolfish and looked dangerous. Their eyes were red and had no sign of life in them. Selene became scared and ran for her life, but was soon caught by the men Hermes sent after her. She took a deep breath before she continued. Being someone that cannot stand evil, Selene said she was going to kill herself since her blood was being used for such evil. On hearing this, Hermes promised to let her have a life as long as she doesn't allow any man to defile her. Selene wanted to know why he was doing such, and he told her that he wanted to be the ruler of the whole world. He was going to make enough soldiers to help him achieve that, and what other way could he make a soldier that would easily take over that world than making an army of soldier that everyone will be scared of. Hermes said her blood was a very important factor because she was the purest in the land, and her blood, coupled with black magic, was enough to create such monsters. Selene did not know what to do, but she wasn't ready to lose her life either. She kept getting her blood taken and couldn't do anything about it. One day, she decided to go to the market in the village and was walking around when she came across the most beautiful man she's ever set her eyes on. That was when she met Adrien, the man whom Hermes forbade from living in the town because of how beautiful he looked. Adrien was the male version of everything Selene embodied. He was so beautiful, it was almost painful to look at. He was kind. He was a very peaceful man and did not like any form of altercations. Selene fell in love with him at first sight and followed him to where he lives in a cave in the middle of the mountains. Since that day, Selene would constantly go the market under the guise of buying things and disappear into the mountains to see Adrien. I was amazed at this story, and it seemed I wasn't the only one who wanted to listen to the story. Selene finally made Adrien fall in love with her, and she got pregnant with Adrien's daughter. Hermes was enraged at what Selene did after she had been ordered to stay away from men, so ordered that a black witch should perform the magic that would turn her into a feral animal too, but the witch failed. How? Why? But she's no longer pure, Lila questioned from her seat, and Nathan shut her up affectionately, making her pout. Serena laughed before continuing her story. Despite the fact that she was pregnant, her heart was still pure as ever, and something around her was contradicting the black magic, but she was still affected. She felt changes in her body, her senses were heightened, and she could talk to nocturnal animals. Afraid that she was going to be killed by Hermes, she ran away in the middle of the night and went to live with Adrien in the heart of the mountain. They lived peacefully until one full moon later. At this point, she requested for a glass of water, which Rose readily brought before she continued with the story. Hermes found out where she was and came with some of his wild creations. Selene already sensed them and urged Adrien to run away with her, but he disagreed. He said he was going to use himself as a bait to save his wife and child. Selene, not knowing the magnitude of her powers, ran but came back to meet Adrien teetering on the edge of death. Apparently, one of the rogues bit him and he was slowly turning into one of them. Selene kept crying and praying for anyone to listen to her plea and take her instead. Poor Selene and Adrien. The moon decided to bestow its powers upon her, but it came at the price of her baby. Adrien's life was restored, but he wasn't human anymore either. He came back as a werewolf and he became the first alpha king of werewolves. They did not sit still like that. They started recruiting people to fight in the oncoming war, and lots of people followed them. They were tired of Hermes' menace and were ready to fight him under the tutelage of Adrien and Selene. They knew they were kind and peaceful people and would not lead them into something that will not benefit them. Because their love kept going strong, Adrien had some superpowers of his own, and they kept turning people who wanted to join the cause into werewolves too, and got great strength from the moon. It becomes more enhanced with a full moon. Eventually, the war came about 3 full moons later, and the rogues, as they were called, were all vanquished by the werewolf army, but Hermes' first son escaped and since then had been creating many wars and problems in the werewolf world. This story never gets old no matter how much I hear it, Avianka gushed and the rest agreed. Why did they all act like they were just listening to it for the first time? How did I get thrown into the equation then? I asked the question that hadn't been answered and everyone looked at me like I was supposed to figure that out on my own. Well, forgive me for trying to know why I've been suffering for the last 8 years without knowing why. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.